Oh, really lacking motivation today.
Really? Well, this is going to be fun then.
Having like a kind of a Big Lebowski moment today.
Oh, so that's what all this is.
Well, no, these are actually my clothes.
Oh, okay. It's not a mirage.
No, this is just me today.
Okay.
So hopefully it's not too intense today.
Not too intense.
Check out my new cup. What are we doing today?
Intense.
Camping.
I love camping. No, we're revisiting our top 10 mindfuck list.
Which one?
We're doing JFK.
I'm from Dallas. I hate JFK.
Did somebody say JFK?
Oh, hi!
Hi.
Oh, excellent. I'm gonna go hang out. Bye! Screw this! I'm out of here!
It's another Heaps Good Sunday morning, and yet again we're here to do it and entertain.
And possibly inform! I'm sorry, that was my best Mercedes impression.
Oh, really?
She sounds like that to me.
Oh, I just don't listen most of the time, so
Pretty sure that's how
it's
she
just.
sounds. She's gonna kill me.
So, welcome, Robyn. Welcome to the set of Heaps Good Morning. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, or would you like me to tell you a bit about yourself, or?
That sounds more fun. You tell me about me.
I'll tell you about you. So, you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interviews with citizens.
Not very good.
We were actually sitting down watching quite a few of them last night. We had a really good time.
Some don't make any sense.
I think that's the fun of it, though.
Well, that's all I can do.
So you do things from talking about your fabulous fashion and mental health and ghosts and dancing, and you do songs.
I do some dancing tutorials on there.
Yeah, we watched one of those last night. It was really entertaining.
It probably blew your mind.
It did. I'm going to definitely go back and relearn some of those moves, I
I
think.
probably would, but luckily you're already married, because if you weren't, you'd be just picking up left, right and centre with my dance moves. So.
Yeah. And your video on skitties, which we really appreciated.
Oh, that's my song?
No, we're just talking about how you...
I did an episode just talking about skitties.
Yeah.
Look, it was a catastrophic day for me, but it was a learning curve, like any of... you think of the world's greatest events, we move on and we learn from that, and I learned. You don't show your missus your skitties. Just... you might think at the time it's a good idea and it's necessary.
See, because we were talking about that here, and the girls said to each other, "Fine, show us your skitties. It's all good." But I'm not digging that at all. I think that's...
Look, it was one time, it was a very small little skitty, it was very tiny, and I've had some misplaced guilt about it, and I thought, how can I absolve that? And my solution was I should show Mercedes. So I took her down to the bedroom and I pulled my jocks out of the hamper, and I was like, here, and she goes, what's that? What am I looking at? And I was like, it's my skitty I was telling you about earlier. And she's like, why would you think I would want to see that? And I was like, even now I'm regretting it. I don't know.
I hope you kept a little bit of distance.
Well, yeah, and I mean, she's quite tall, so
yeah,
that happened naturally. But yeah, it did then lead into a song. And look, I've been approached by Sony, and also a play school has approached me to do a more like a kid-friendly, clean version.
Yeah.
Don't show your mum your skitties. So it's really, it's taking off.
It's taking off. Brilliant. This is going to be a really fun episode. So you have a book called Not Dead.
Oh, I do.
You do, and your pen name is R.T. Truehall.
R.T. Truehall, that's right. That's
yeah. Are you doing any more writing at the moment? I
am. Actually, I've got like several books on the hop, because sometimes I get an idea and I think, I feel like that would be a good book. So, Not Dead is going to be a series of 5 books. So I'm working on book 2 for that, and then I'm writing a futuristic feminist dystopian story, which I have never heard that kind of idea before, and I think a lot of people, if anything becomes of it, will probably hate, but some won't. I mean, it's just a story, but what else? I'm writing a book called How to Kick Anxiety in the Dick.
I do like that.
Wouldn't you pick it up off the shelf?
I would definitely pick that up
as
off
a
the
sufferer
shelf.
anxiety, if
Yeah, me
I
too.
walked into a bookshelf and was like, How to Kick Anxiety in the Dick, I'll give that a read.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I do like the sounds of that. And you do dabble in some visual art as well, don't you?
Sometimes, a little bit of it.
I've seen a couple of your paintings up on Facebook, and I really like them.
Well, thanks, I appreciate that. Sometimes I think it's good to just try things. I never thought I could do art, and then one day I thought maybe I'm full of crap, maybe I'll just try. And then turns out I could do some I still try, and I'm like, no, I'm definitely crap at that.
Yeah.
But then you find some things you can do, and it's turns out it's heaps of fun.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I've dabbled in it myself, but I wanted to be really unique, so I decided to use my penis as a paintbrush.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
Did you paint pictures of penises with your penis?
I called them the apostles. Yeah, so there was...
So, like, you just, like, made prints?
Yeah, look.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't believe I didn't know this about you.
Yeah, I've dabbled a little bit.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've got my... They're fabulous.
They are fabulous.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that with my vagina, but it just comes out looking like an angry drunk clam. It's not as successful. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So,
And if you used it more like a brush and painted pictures of penises with your penis, it would be like penisception.
wow. I think you're onto something. Definitely.
That's copyright.
It's copyright. Okay, so today we're talking about the JFK assassination.
Oh yeah, poor old JFK.
Yeah, I think you've done a hell of a lot more research than I have, so I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
all right. Well, I've got some notes I prepared.
Okay, let's get the notes together.
Just to loosely look at them. It is a fascinating topic, and I was always a bit fascinated in it, a bit interested in it, I guess you could say, because no one still really knows, and you only have to take a real cursory look into it to figure out that they'll say, the government will be like, oh yeah, this happened, but no one for sure knows. And those things always interest me, like, is Elvis even dead? Is he
just
still
gone
kicking around?
home.
No one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah.
So I was interested in it, and then I came across this. So.
I definitely plan on having a read of that.
Oh yeah, it is a really, really cool book. It's by a guy called Colin McLaren, who was a detective in, I can't remember which state, but an Australian police force for a really long time. He went over there on a holiday, got the bug a little bit, as you do, and then after he retired, he thought, okay, now I've got the time, I want to dig into it a little bit more. So Mercedes is from Texas, as we all know.
Yep.
And I've been there once, the last time we went around there, over there to visit, and naturally we did the book depository because it's kind of what you do when you go there.
Yeah.
So I found it really interesting because the book depository itself is, it's a memorial now, so it's not actually still a school book depository, obviously.
Yep.
But it's government owned, so you go and do the tour and that, and you can get the headphones you put on and walk through, and it tells you all about the different stands you're at and whatnot, and you come out of there completely convinced of what the government would want you to be convinced of, because it's a government run thing. So you come out of there definitely convinced that Lee Harvey Oswald did it, and that's it, cut and dried.
Yeah.
And then you walk down the front, because you sort of go out from there into Dealey Plaza, where the motorcade came around that day, and you go down because everyone has to have a look at the grassy knoll.
Yeah.
So you go have a look at that, and there's usually a couple of conspiracy theorists posted up on the little walkway there, catching people as they come out and saying, if you want to know the real story of what happened, come here. And that this one guy we talked to, 20 years every day, he reckons he's never missed a day, but he also could be
lying.
Yeah.
But
how does he get money? If that's anyway, so he just stands there every day telling people the truth, what he thinks the truth of it. So then you kind of walk away going, well,
what's what?
What did happen?
Yeah.
What did happen?
So that's what we're getting into right now.
All right. So I thought maybe a good place to start would be just a real quick recap of the actual event.
Yeah.
What happened. So obviously we don't have a million hours on here to be like events leading up to the assassination and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just get to the nuts and bolts of what happened. So 22nd of November 1963. The American president at the time, John F. Kennedy, arrived in Dallas. Pretty sure he arrived that morning actually, for a whirlwind tour. So he did something first. I can't remember, some kind of ceremony. I think if I recall correctly, they gave him I don't know if it's a Stetson hat, but a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
He was Texas, and he wouldn't put it on either. Bad omen, JFK. That's why you're dead. So, so then from there, it was to be this cavalcade through the city of Dallas, and then onto a luncheon, I think, if I remember correctly. So, set up this motorcade. He was in, I think, the third car along. And like I said, I don't want to go into details because it will take forever.
Yeah.
So he's going through through Dallas, turns around a corner, goes to a place they call Dealey Plaza. It's right outside of a building called the School Book Depository.
Yep.
Which basically, I didn't know this until I went to Texas. Like back then when schools used heaps of books, that was a building that kept them also when schools needed more textbooks or whatever, they'd hit up the book depository. Lee Harvey Oswald, that'll come in later, would fill the order, send it off to the school. So goes past the school book depository, 12:30 p.m, shots ring out.
Yep.
And initially the first shot missed, hit the road, sort of causing everyone to go, oh, what was that? Was it firecrackers? Probably not, it's a daytime. Why were people so dumb in 1960? Firecracker. So second shot hits JFK in the upper back sort of neck area and exits his throat.
Which is where you see him then grabbing at his
Exactly,
chest.
yeah. So he kind of, the Zapruder film is definitely the best film to watch if you want to see it, and it's so heartbreaking. I've got goosebumps actually, but I can't help but watch it because it's such a monumental occasion, and he kind of brings him up in a weird kind of way, and yeah, his hands go to here and he falls sort of forward and left and a bit into Jackie's lap, who's sitting beside him. Now that same bullet, when it came out his neck, and just a bit of useless information, just nicked his tie, the knot of his tie, went into Governor John Connolly sitting in front of him. Now really effed Connolly up, because what it did with poor old Connolly is it came in his back, came out his chest under the nip, and then went into his wrist, shattered his wrist in like 8 places, and then came out of his wrist again and lodged in his left thigh.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty. They call that the magic bullet. A lot of the conspiracy theorists. Yeah. So that happened. Now very very quickly after that shot, the third shot rang out, which was the fatal shot. It entered JFK in the rear of his head, fragmented into his skull and made a huge exit wound on the right-hand side of his head. And you can see that very clearly in the Zapruder film. You know, he's fallen over from his, like that, and then next thing his head explodes. Just a bunch of pink mist everywhere. Blood and brains everywhere, all over the car, all over everyone in the car, all over the back of the car. What was it? Is it a limousine?
It was a Lincoln.
Lincoln, that's right. So all over the big long boot of the Lincoln, which, goosebumps again. The most heartbreaking bit of it all, I think, is when that happened, Jackie Kennedy's instant reaction was to turn around and jump up onto the back of the boot, I guess.
No, I'm getting goosebumps.
Starts collecting up bits of his...
When I was watching it this morning, you watched the
Zapruder film?
Yeah, I did. And I was amazed at how quickly her response was to, alright, I need to get his brains off the back
Does
of the
it
car.
amaze you how much quicker her response was than any of the Secret Service agents that were working with her? Now, she later stated that she had no recollection of doing that. And that's what breaks my heart, is because I feel like her instant reaction was to be like, this man that she loved him so much, he's broken, he's going to need that. So collecting up broken bits of skull and brain, and you know, he's not coming back, love. Yeah. He's not coming back from that. And that was it. Sped off to Parkland Memorial Hospital. Spent a little bit of time there. Went from there to, I feel like I'm going to say it wrong, Bethesda or something like that, Naval Hospital. And then that was it. So that's what happened.
Yeah, and soon after the reports came out that he was fatally injured and died in the car. Yes,
that's right. So he was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. at, I think, the the hospital before he went to the Naval Hospital. So I think they went to the Naval. Did they do the autopsy there? Ugh, can't remember. So then I thought, why don't we move into just a real quick run through the list of the main conspiracy theories.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so President's been shot. Very obviously not accidentally been shot. It's not like he was on a hunting trip and something. And it's obviously someone has killed the president with intent to kill the president. So conspiracy theories over the years have gone from reasonably feasible to
downright outrageous.
So most people know about the grassy knoll. So
Yes.
the biggest, I think, conspiracy theory that they kind of peddle outside the book depository is that Lee Harvey Oswald shot him from in the book depository.
Yep.
Most people kind of look at him as a patsy. Like maybe in their conspiracy, the government had put him up to it, knowing he probably wasn't going to succeed. That's why they put an expert shooter on the grassy knoll who shot. And they say all sorts of things like, if you look in the footage, it kind of looks like his head goes back, which to them is somehow rock solid proof that the shooter came from the front, being the grassy knoll.
Yeah.
And when you see it, it's kind of like it's just a little rise, and there's a fence there at the top, but on the other side of it, it's still the same today as it was. So it still just goes into like a vacant lot kind of thing, and train tracks and stuff. So they're like, a shooter could easily have shot from there and then had made a very quick escape without anyone knowing. And honestly, as someone who was in the army, and I'm totally a reasonable shot, not a sharpshooter, but definitely reasonable. If I was propped up against a fence, a cavalcade moving that slow, I would have every confidence I could hit someone in the head with a bullet, and not even a sharpshooter.
Yeah.
So everyone's all about this grassy knoll, this mystery second shooter. Mafia is one of the big theories. The mafia wanted him dead.
Yes, that's some of the research I did today as well went into all the mafia stuff about it and stuff, and they said anywhere up to, there could have been potentially anywhere up to 8 shooters.
Yeah, exactly, all in place, and with the mafia theory, the only reason I think that gained foothold is because of Jack Ruby's involvement, and he was known to be sort of a bit involved with the mafia.
Yep.
CIA. There's theories about that, mostly because JFK wanted to put an end to like secret organisations. There's theories that it was Jackie was behind it. I put like question mark, stupid. KGB, Russia.
Yes,
because around that time, Cold War, all that kind of stuff, and that ties in nice and neatly with Lee Harvey Oswald's Russian obsession.
Yes,
well.
and because he had a Russian bride, didn't he?
Yes, exactly, that's right. Marina, I think. Cuba, obviously, big theory that Cuba had to be in their bonnet, because I think there was the Bay of Pigs that was really bad before that. I don't know too much about it.
The theory of apparently Cuba trying to assassinate, America trying to assassinate Cuba's...
Was it Fidel Castro?
Fidel Castro, yeah.
And I think that they wanted to bring, that theory centers around Cuba wanting to bring America to its knees and really embarrass America and put America in its place and all of that kind of stuff. And the last two that I saw that are ridiculous is aliens and Illuminati.
Alright, aliens straight off the bat, nah, didn't happen. Now, the Illuminati... I'm a bit of an Illuminati nut.
Well, I knew that would get you. And see, here's the thing. If you then think, could have been, and you'll go down that track, you'll find so much stuff that people have, because people have explored so many avenues and they've gathered up all this proof, whether it is proof or not, and so it doesn't matter what avenue you go down, you'll come out of it going, definitely was the CIA, definitely was Illuminati, definitely was Cuba, of course it was Cuba, so that's why I think this book is so cool, because nothing in this is new. Colin McLaren didn't come up with this himself. He's collected a whole bunch of stuff from ideas people have had before, but they've been like, hey guys, I think it could have been this, and people have been like, and he's got it all in this book and brought it to the forefront. Alright, so again, in the interest of keeping this less than 7 hours long, I thought if we're kind of focusing on this book, then we'll focus on what he's presenting, so we don't get caught up in other conspiracy theories. So basically, the premise that he's putting forward, that Colin's putting forward, again, not the first time someone's put it forward, but that's the premise of this book, is that this is what happened. Are you ready for this? I'm about to tell you if Elvis is really dead or not.
Okay, I'm ready.
Alright, I'll proceed. So, JFK comes to Texas, he's in his motorcade, he's going through the, approaching Dealey Plaza, turns down Dealey Plaza. Lee Harvey Oswald is in the book depository. on the 6th floor. He does have a rifle, and he does shoot the president. So he shoots the first shot that misses and hits the road.
The ground, yeah.
Yeah. He shoots the second shot that hits him in the throat. But then he does not fire the third and fatal shot that kills him. Are you ready to hear where this comes from?
Okay. I'm ready.
It's so heartbreaking. But I actually, after reading this book, I wholeheartedly believe it's the truth because it is the plainest and simplest explanation and so many things point to it.
Yeah.
Okay. That trip, the president was doing a lot of trips at that time, so his Secret Service were working a lot and they're working away from home a lot. They were not supposed to drink on the job, and on the job means at any time they're away from home, because when they're away with the president, they're on active duty at all times.
Yep.
They just decided that they would throw caution to the wind, and they all went out and got hammered the night before. Right up until like, there are reports of still seeing some of them out at clubs, local clubs, at like 4 in the morning. Which is absurd, because I would think if I had even the most remotely important job, I wouldn't, because I'd be like, can you imagine if something went wrong? They'll just look at me and be like, that's because you're up at 4
Yeah, that's
a.m.
right. Yeah.
So basically where it started was the morning that they're getting together, all the Secret Service and all the cavalcade and everything for the motorcade, sorry. A whole bunch of the Secret Service agents were seedy AF. So a whole bunch of them took backseat jobs and they moved a random few of them into jobs they don't usually do. Enter George Hickey. Ever heard of George Hickey?
The name rings a bell.
Alright. He's the inventor of the Hickey, the love bite. It's not.
That's why I know it.
So, George Hickey was a Secret Service agent, but he was usually on car detail. He was not and had never been on bodyguard kind of duty. He was a driver. So his duties involved maintaining the cleanliness and whatnot of the car and driving the car. So he was trained in like evasive driving techniques and stuff. He'd never been a bodyguard. So he was upgraded to one of those positions, sitting in the car. Was it right behind or second behind? At any rate, behind the president's car. Now, also on this trip, the Secret Service, for the very first time, introduced a new weapon into their arsenal. Just one. I don't mean just one kind of weapon. I mean one lone rifle that they thought, we're going to try this new fandangled rifle that's come out. AR-15 assault rifle. So they'd never had that kind of weapon before. They had one and they gave it to old mate George Hickey. And this is in lots of pictures. You can look up heaps of pictures. It's well documented that he was the one holding it. And the car that he was in, behind the president, I don't know why, probably because he was not used to it and probably nervous, he has the AR-15, but he's crouched, he's in crouching position up on the seat. So not really a too terribly stable spot.
Yeah.
So motorcade's coming through, JFK, first shot misses, JFK gets him, he's obviously shot, Governor Connolly's shot, Governor Connolly's screaming, oh my God, they're going to kill us all. The motorcade, when the second shot hit, it actually slowed down for a second and then was like to take off. And you can see in various different photos, it was reported by many people as well that George Hickey, first of all, he looked around where the sound of the first shot came from, which makes sense because the book depository's up there, and then looked around again, fell back, and accidentally discharged the rifle and shot his own president in the back of the head. Is your mind blown? I've got goosebumps. It's okay. Now, I know you're thinking, whatever, that's ridiculous. Here's what I'll tell you, little bits, and it's only a taste, so you've got to read the book because you'll love it. First of all, little bit of background on Lee Harvey Oswald, because a lot of people were like, he's just a patsy. Why would he want to kill the president? He's not even a good shot. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So we know he worked at the book depository, and we know he worked on the 6th floor. When he was young, I think like 19 or 20, he was in the army. He was terrible at it. Although he was actually, there's documentation to show that he was a good shot and he achieved certain levels in marksmanship or whatever. Developed a passion for Marxism, developed a fascination with Russia, taught himself Russian, shot himself on accident in the arm, I think, and ended up with a dishonourable discharge, I think, and went to Russia, which is where he met his bride, as you said. They eventually he got sick of Russia, couldn't work in Russia, came back, brought her back, and they were living here. And he just started getting, looking back, I think he was actually just really mentally ill.
Yeah.
And he started getting more and more withdrawn and more having these crazy ideas. He wouldn't let it got to the point where he wouldn't let his wife socialise with anyone. He kept her in the house, wouldn't let her learn English, was really horrible to her, what we'd know now to be domestically violent. He saw himself as a revolutionary. So he became very secretive, and he started saying things like, in conversation, what would you say if, someone were able to take out Hitler at the right time before everything got really bad? So he was documented saying stuff like that. He became really obsessed with Cuba. He wanted to help Fidel Castro train his troops and all stuff like this. Joined the Fair Play for Cuba committee. At one point he tried to get into Cuba, and his idea was to do something revolutionary and come back and be this hero. He started to think the FBI were out after him, and he was telling people this kind of stuff. He took on a pseudonym, Hidel, A. Hidel, I don't know what A was meant to stand for, and that was because Hidel rhymes with Fidel, and he had a friend in the army years ago that's last name was Hidel, so he'd started using that as a fake name. Tried to go to Cuba, couldn't. Tried to go back to Russia, couldn't. So by then he's just paranoid, angry, isolated, and he's sort of in and out with his wife. They separate because he's horrible. He then is really lovely, and she goes, I'll go back to him, and back and forth like this for a while. So she knows he's got this rifle. I think it's pronounced Carcano. I think really old rifle, not a particularly great rifle, bolt action rifle. I just do the international symbol for bolt action. I don't understand English. So he's very paranoid, all of that kind of stuff. It gets to the morning of November 22. She wakes up, he's already gone, and she states that she had a weird feeling, went to the garage, looked where he kept his rifle usually, rifle's gone, the blanket that used to cover it was just on the ground, goes back into the living room and his wedding ring's on the table. So she is filled with this sense of foreboding, like, what the F is going to happen? What's he going to do? Because and again, because we haven't got the time to go into it, there's heaps more background with Lee Harvey Oswald. He'd had an assassination attempt at someone else, some governor, I think, as well, which had failed because he wasn't a great shot, and he missed and hit the window and whoop, ran and never didn't realise till he heard the news reports he hadn't even hit the guy, and he was like, So here's this kind of loser guy, completely paranoid, well off his tree, and he's been striving for so long to get some kind of recognition. He thinks FBI from him. It's turned from being just famous to just infamy. I don't care, I want to be known for something. So he goes to work that day, and it's very well known. He definitely you can't dispute the fact he did shoot the president. Up on the 6th floor where he worked, that's where they found the rifle. That's where they found the shell casings. That particular rifle uses a full metal jacket round. And it matches exactly, once they had the rifle, it matches the round that they found, because that's a full metal jacket round is it's more of a military round because it's meant for fair play, obviously, because it's supposed to be like, you can shoot your enemy, but you don't want to, you want them to have the best chance of living after being shot, which is weird. So there's no mistaking that he did shoot it. Whether it was luck or what, he was an average shooter, and honestly, when you go up there and look at it, it's not that far-fetched to think anyone could land a shot from there. It's not far away at all. Basically, you've got this guy, George Hickey, that I definitely believe, not George Hickey, Lee Harvey Oswald, I definitely reckon he was there and shot the president. And if it wasn't for the comedy of errors that led to poor old incompetent George Hickey crouching on the back seat of a car with an assault rifle that he'd never used before, that no one had ever used before in the Secret Service, I honestly think it would have been that shot in the neck and they would have got away, and he probably would have survived. Basically, what I'm just going to say what happened, because that's what we're talking about in this book. What happened is, second shot hits him, goes through into the governor, and then George, he's like, the car lurches. Now, lots of stuff happened, like in the front seat of the car he was in, the whoever was sitting in the front passenger seat was quoted by several people as, for some reason, turning around right after that third shot and saying, "Hey, be careful." Why? Why would he do that? Why would he just, for some reason, if George Hickey hadn't fired around and that weapon had not fired around after that third shot, why would that guy's instinct, sitting right in front of George Hickey and in between where the shot went, why would his instinct have been to go, "Hey, be careful"?
Yeah. Yeah.
So lots of things leading up to that. So then they go off, go to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. So here's why a lot of people, here's where everything gets misdirected, is what I'm trying to say. Here's where it reaches a point where this book picks it up and leads you in the path of what happened.
Yep.
And the path forks where the American government would lead you down the path of what they want to believe happened.
And I was watching that and it was such close range.
Yes!
It was down, it was just bang, it was right there.
There's no chance.
Alright, so I guess that's the end of our episode for this week.
Are you shook?
I'm very shook.
Are you interested in the book?
I'm very interested and I'm feeling a bit somber, I must say.
Yeah.
But it was really enjoyable to find out this stuff, and I've just noticed there's a... Oh, look at that. I'm going to have to edit that out. Oh, well.
Wow. Is it your first day?
Apparently it is.
Hear me tisking?
That's alright. You wouldn't even know that because it's already edited out. So.
God, it's Inception.
Alright, so yeah, it's the end of our episode, and it's over to you for your part.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, because their future is at your intrigued little fingers.